Some of the destinations have errors. That's still that same Instagram thing, right? We're live. Let's see, let me move this lamp out. Well, that's a little better. Well, hello, 7 people. 7 and growing, I hope. 7. It only updates every like 30 seconds. Down to 6 people. I already lost somebody. 10 people. Now we're growing again. All right, we're trending the right way. Trending, as the kids call it. And by kids, I mean everybody under 52 years old. 25 people. Holy cow, now it's jamming. How is everybody doing? Hello, Carl and Stable and Nick and Doug. Hello, hello, hello. Stable Mayhem. That's actually a great name. Stable Mayhem. Isn't that like kind of a oxymoron, though? No, wait. Is that the right word? Moronic oxymoron. Hello from Virginia. Hello, Juan Jimenez. 51 years old. See? You child. It's way past your bedtime, 51-year-old. Oh, cool. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, I'm glad everybody's doing a great job in the online classes. Just so y'all know, if you're interested in my 6-month online Become a Complete Disc Golfer class, go to scottstokely.net and get on the mailing list, because everything I do fills up. Like, all of it fills up. So if you want to get in, everybody that's on the mailing list will be the first to be notified, and you all get in for sure. But I don't even know if I advertised. I think I did. Like with the seminars that I posted, I never even advertised 2022 seminars. I sent to my mailing list. I sold out the entire 2022 season, October of last year, just from the mailing list. Disc golf over everything. Hello, disc golf over everything. Thank you for the shirt that I wore like probably once a week for like several years in social media. Oh, you got the cool disc golf shirt. That's awesome. Well, hello, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Interesting place, Tulsa, Oklahoma. One of the weird things about the sport in the early days is that, you know, it took a long time for people to figure out this was a great sport and that they should have it in their town. And when there was 100 courses in the country, like in the whole country, there were 6 in Los Angeles. There were, I think, 6 in Austin, 4 in Peru, Indiana, for like, who knows why. And there were, I believe, 6 courses in Austin. I mean, not Austin, in Tulsa. And that's just one of those like things. Tulsa was one of the first. Hello, Benita. One of the first to adopt our sport. So yeah, hats off to Tulsa and Peru, Indiana, and Austin and Los Angeles. Sedgley Woods in Philly. Love Sedgley Woods in Philly. That is that course in Sedgley Woods. I think to this day, and I'll die on this hill, that is the best disc golf club in America, is the Sedgley Woods Club. I absolutely love the Sedgley Woods Club. Every single person in that club would kick your ass if you got into a fight with them. They are, sorry, they are the toughest people out in South Philly, but the nicest people too. I love Sedgley. How am I feeling? I'm feeling great. I played not great this week. I didn't play well. You know, it's golf. I've had some great weekends. I've had some great finishes, some bad finishes, and there's no way of predicting which comes when. And unfortunately, I just didn't play well this tournament. It's funny because I'm trying really hard to be super disappointed. Yeah, Obi destroyed me this tournament. I only had, I think, 3 bogeys the whole tournament that weren't caused by 2 bogeys the whole tournament that weren't caused by out of bounds. I'm trying to think. 1, 2. Yeah, 2. They were both on the same hole too, a little 300-foot hole. I just hit an early tree, threw a little short, missed the putt both times for par. But I will be in Vermont. No, 10:30 is not a bad round. It's just that, you need to do that. Needs to be your worst round. And I had a tournament last year where I didn't shoot worse than 10:30. I've had tournaments this year, several of them where all but one round was over 10:30. Like, I've played close, but not close enough. I do not need a caddy in Pittsburgh. Thank you so much for asking. But I got my caddy sitting next to me right now. And I, to be fair, my caddy has duties required of them that you probably wouldn't want to sign up for. So I'm sorry. I don't mean to put a visual in your head, but yeah, I got my caddy. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, no, I'm not hanging my head low. I mean, having a first European world champ. If you're talking about Kristen Tatar, she would not be the first. The first European world champion was also in the FPO division, and it was Birgitta Lagerholm from Sweden. I think it was in 2002, 2003, something like that. So she will be the second if Kristen Tatar wins it. But yeah, it's one of these things where like I feel like I should be more upset than I am, but this whole process, I worked so hard to get to this point, and this was definitely the pinnacle of the season. This is what I was working towards, so that's why I think I should be so disappointed, except the entire process of the last 12 months to get to this point has been the most amazing experience of my life. And like every single thing has pretty much, like gone my way. I mean, E. coli, COVID, like, it's life, right? Like, things happen, it's life. But so many good things have happened in the last year. I just can't make myself angry over this tournament. Like, I'm frustrated over the fact that I can't seem to get frustrated. That's weird, right? Plus, we're leaving in 2 months. If y'all haven't heard, we're leaving in 2 months. For our initial schedule is for 18 months out of the country. Let's see. Cool. I heard this about Honey Bear. I'll talk about that in a second. But we're leaving the country for 18 months in October to go do disc golf all over the world. And I'm going to be, of course, like, documenting the whole thing. I hope it's going to be a lot of fun for everybody, taking everybody to all these exotic places. I mean, some less exotic than others. I mean, Western Europe and Australia is not super exotic, but we're also going to be playing disc golf in Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Cambodia, and then next winter, hopefully Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia, and South Africa, a little more exotic. Hello, Eric Grover. I cannot wait to come to Malaysia. We are going to be in Malaysia next year. That is for sure. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of teaching, a lot of classes down in Australia and New Zealand, and doing fun stuff as well. Going to Asia, that's mainly for the experience, but probably doing 4 clinics out there as well. I want to do teaching and promoting, anything I can do to help promote the sport there. Like if they can get some press around the fact that I'm going to be there, I would love to do appearances, whatever I can do to promote the sport. And then the European Pro Tour is going to be a lot like the US Pro Tour. That's going to be a lot more like being on tour again, but in foreign countries. And then when I get to go to Africa next winter, that's going to be more just the experience of going to play disc golf in Africa, which is so cool. Let's see. So about Peru, Indiana. Yeah, so basically so Peru, Indiana, Honey Bear. Okay, according to some of the paperwork Ed had, he wasn't the best at keeping track of which courses were installed versus sold first. Honey Bear in Peru is a private campground. Ed sold and installed the course 77, 78. He's getting new targets after 45 years, MVP targets. Okay, so I got a couple takes on this. So Oak Grove Park in Pasadena, world's first disc golf course, permanent disc golf course, period. More than likely, the second disc golf course was La Mirada, which was also in Los Angeles. Probably the second course. And I say probably, it's not 100%, but probably. But after that, I believe there's about 15 courses that could all lay claim to number 3. Ed did not keep good records, but not only did he not keep good records, he was going to parks departments and he was selling the courses. So you might have a parks department agree to buy a course, but then send the check 3 weeks later. But then it was 9 weeks later before Ed went out to design the course. He was designing the courses to went in the ground. So even if he kept records, well, what constitutes the third course? When it actually goes in the ground, or when it was sold, or when he actually designed the course? So even then, that would kind of be up in the air. So there's about 15 or so, I think, courses that lay claim to number 3, all rightly so, and they're not even all in the ground. A lot of them since have been pulled, but Honey Bear in Peru is one of those courses. Now, I heard y'all are getting brand new baskets in because I played with, and I'm forgetting his name, but a really good player I played with who from Peru, the second round of Worlds this year. And I have mixed feelings about this because that's such a historical thing. Like, of course you want better baskets to make a better course, but then it's kind of part of the history because Honey Bear had the original baskets from way back then, which are just absolutely terrible, but that's the history. So, it's obviously not my call, it's the club's call, but I personally, with some of these old courses, would lean towards keeping the history because there's only, there's a lot of courses out there, but there's only so much history. Oak Grove Park, they've changed the course, the world's first course, to make a much better disc golf course. It's a better course for sure. I wish they would have just kept the original course in the ground with the original Mach 1 baskets. And then people could go out and actually play where the game started. You go out, get some Frisbees from the store and play. But again, that's my opinion. There's no right answer. Anyways, I don't know. Sorry to get off pack. Honey Bear was the 10th permanent course. The locals started a league. Okay, so I know you're saying it's the 10th, and I'm not disagreeing with you. You probably certainly know more about your course than I know about those courses. I mean, if that's your course. But I thought it might be considered one of the courses that were number 3. I don't know that there's actually a 10th course that went in the ground because of these discrepancies from those early days. But I reserve the right to be wrong. Like I'm not telling you your course's history. You certainly know more than I do. So if you happen to know something I don't, then it's still cool. One of the top 10. Have I ever had COVID? Yeah, I missed Portland because of it. I missed the Portland Open. I wish I would have gotten those points. Do you have a favorite Tulsa or even Oklahoma course that you remember? Honestly, well, speaking of what course is the third course in the country, I believe Will Rogers Park in Oklahoma City would be, I believe that's one of the 15 courses as well that could be considered the possibly the third course in the world. I'm not positive on that, but I think Will Rogers Park was. As far as favorite courses, God, I don't know. I mean, I remember I've played out there. I don't think I do. Sorry for not having a good answer for that. Nothing just really stood out. I haven't been there in a while. The modern courses they're playing the tour on, like the worst course on the Pro Tour blows anything away we played 20 years ago. Like not even close. Like we used to play on pitch and putt courses. We played on par 3, par 54 courses back then, where everybody could reach just about every single hole. I mean, it was just, it was 18 approach shots effectively because you could reach everything. They were might be long approaches, but we played 18 approach shots. We didn't have driving. It really is part of the game the way we do today. So I haven't played there in a while, but
how about the lounge?
What? Oh, how about the Lodge? Okay, yes, thank you very much. I would say my favorite's the Lodge, Avery's course out there. Yeah, of course, absolutely, 100%. The Lodge was a good course. It's still a little bit. I mean, it's a great course. Still a little bit small as far as a championship course. I think it needs to be bigger. I mean, it's hard because everybody throws so far now. Like you can't have a 600-foot fairly open par 4. That's not a par 4. It's barely a par 5. I mean, barely a par 3.
Tell me about your shot that went to the other fairway.
Oh, my 360.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I have a video up on my site. I threw a shot at the Lodge. I threw a sidearm that they measured at 540 feet on a sidearm. So I just threw one hole as hard as I could, and I threw it from over like a basket 450 feet away, like 130 feet past it, just to see how far I could throw it. Is Tatar only 4 foot 12 inches without her hair up? Plan for your overhead to double over there in Europe. No.
She's not short.
No, she's not that short. No, she looks like a very traditional athlete. She's not like a WNBA giant, but she's also not she's not small. Do I think the first NPO Euro-born player will win Worlds in the next 7 years? Yeah, I think so. I think that if I had to pick someone, this is really hard to do, but I would go Albert Tam. I think Albert Tam can win in the next 5 years. He can win next year, but I think Albert Tam is going to keep getting better. I'm a huge fan of the way he plays the game. Will any other players making surprise appearances on the World Tour? No, because all the other top players are going to be on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, which is exactly where they should be. If I was 27 years old and I was trying to win a world title, I would be on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. 100% for sure, no question. The thing about going to compete in Europe, though, this is not by any stretch the way like an NFL player can't cut it in the NFL, but they want to keep playing football, or they're broke in some cases, so they go play in the Canadian Football League or NBA Europe or something like that. I'm not going there because of not being competitive, because I could care less. I mean, I'm competing to win. I don't care where I care how I do, but I don't at the same time. I'm going over to Europe just for the experience of being someplace different. So for a lot of you guys know this, but my girl and I are full-time permanent nomads. We live on the road. We have no storage in it, no home base. Every single thing we own is in our hotel room right now. We're never going to have a home. We're never going to stop. We always want to do stuff different. We would rather do something tomorrow that's not fun at all than do something that's really fun that we've already done before. And I'm not exaggerating with that. Every day we drive to the course, we drive a different route to the course just to drive a different route. So we just want different experiences. And Europe is going to offer different experiences because we haven't been in. I mean, I've been to Europe a couple times for 9 weeks and 1 week. Like it's like coming to the US for 10 weeks. You're not going to see anything. So I'm going over there for solely because I want the experience of going someplace different. But at the end of next year, I mean, in 2024, I don't see any reason why I won't be there again, because it's not like we're going to see it all. So I'm kind of thinking I'm going to be over there for a number of years. Maybe I'll come back when I'm 57. I'll come back on the Pro Tour again. You never know.
We talked about tour discs this time.
Oh, tour discs?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like mine?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So just a quick plug. If you go to scottstokely.net, I have a couple Tour Series discs available still signed. I've got signed Tour Series Bergs. I believe I have signed Marvels. You'll have to check the site. If they're out, I haven't checked today. I know I have signed Wizards still, Tour Series Harps, barbecue sauce, Stokely Universe shirts, which I don't have one to show you, but just use your imagination. Look at how cool that is. You like that? Yeah. That's are they all out in the car?
They're in the laundry.
Are there none in the suitcase? The smaller ones that don't fit?
No, they fit me.
I mean, but I can hold it up to show it though.
No, they're not. That's not the design.
Oh, it's a different design. Okay, so I don't have any. So just go to scottstokely.net. The coolest looking disc golf shirts you've ever seen, and I can say that with authority. The best, coolest disc golf shirts ever are at my website, scottstokely.net. And I'm not bragging. I didn't design them. We have an artist to design them that is the best artist we've ever seen for these shirts.
Can you tilt that down a little bit? Maybe like.
Tilt it down?
Yeah, there's so much.
There we go. Aaron Gossett told the spectators to stand still, then made a 35-foot plus. His world slews? Oh, no question. Here's the thing, is that Aaron is great. Everybody out there that's 1025 or 1030 rated is so high level. It's stupid how good they are. They get overshadowed by the top couple people. Top couple people get all the press, they get all the feature cards, and they certainly deserve it. They also win more. But the level of play is only a couple strokes around. If you shoot 60 shots in a round, a couple strokes is like 3%. So the difference between Aaron Gossage and Ricky Wysocki is Ricky Wysocki makes 3% more shots. That's how close they are in skill level. Now, over the course of 4 rounds, that usually adds up, and Ricky will beat Aaron more than Aaron beats Ricky. But like Aaron's great. What's fun about tomorrow is I think he has, a 3-stroke lead? 4-stroke lead? 3. He has a 3-stroke lead, and it's exciting because of who's behind him. Like, he's 3 strokes ahead of Paul. Like, if you could name one person you don't want in your rearview mirror, it's Paul. We all know what Paul can do. Paul can get hot and do what Paul does. I mean, all the players can get hot. But Paul has a different gear. That's why he's Paul McBeth. So it's exciting because it's not over till it's over. By the way, hole 16, the island hole, that's a 2-stroke swing hole. So if Aaron has a 2-stroke lead going into that hole, like that, it could be tied. He also could be up by 4 after that hole. That's just the reality of that hole. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, here's the thing. I'll tell you this. Aaron's strong. He's strong mentally. He's not going to be shook. Aaron will play a good round of golf tomorrow. And if Paul catches them or someone catches them, it's because they played spectacular. But Aaron's not going to tank by no stretch. He's got a good head. He's a good kid too. How far are we from a museum that can store these old T signs in baskets from these building block courses? I'll tell you a really funny story about that. I like stories about everything. That's what happens when you get old. You have stories about everything. There is the museum at the PDJ Center in Augusta, Georgia. But I would say that there's probably going to be an Indiana Disc Golf Hall of Fame, and that's where they would go. What's funny is when Oak Grove Park got rid of its original T signs, someone mentioned to me that hole 1 of the original T sign was available for $500. So this is probably like 1990 or something like that, 93 somewhere, but it was $500 for the world's first disc golf tee sign on hole 1 of the world's first course for $500. So back then, that just seemed like so much money to me. I used to be poor, and I was younger, and so I didn't even consider it. And then when you look back, you go, "Oh my God!" Like that is like the most historical piece of disc golf history just about ever, and it was available. It's got to be worth like $50,000 now or something like that. Not that I would sell it now, but. I might donate it to a museum, but I wouldn't sell it. Best advice for a consistent release on a forehand throw. Yeah, don't serve the pizza. That's it. Don't serve the pizza. Watch my serve the pizza video or my don't serve the pizza video. And make sure that your backswing, there's two different backswings in sidearm. If you will not get a consistent sidearm if you are doing the wrong backswing for the throw. If you have the disc turned with the outside of the disc facing away from you doing a pendulum or vice versa, you will never get a consistent release doing that because you're having to take the disc and flip it over or flip it over before you throw it. So watch my serve the pizza video, watch my backswing video, and watch my 3 tips for sidearm video, and it'll all be in there. I mean, you do those, everything in those videos, you'll have a good sidearm that's consistent. Have I played with someone named Ruth Steele? No. But if I ever make a movie about a female spy, it'll be called Ruth Steele. Well, she will be called Ruth Steele. How keen am I for the Aussie Championships? I can't wait for the Aussie Championships. We're going there. We're going down to Australia on the 29th of October, which I think is like, 3 weeks early? We're going to be there like 3 weeks early, except we're going to be mostly scuba diving for a couple weeks. So we're not necessarily going to be in Brisbane. We'll be in Brisbane for a couple days. I want to do a clinic, and then we're going to take off for like 10 days to go diving out on the reef. But no, I can't wait. And right now it looks like me and Drew Gibson are the two people. I mean, there's tons of good players, but as far as I know, we're the 2 people that are going over. Jennifer Allen in the FPO division as well. How did I do with the COVID? You tested positive and you have to know what to expect. Okay, so I'm not an expert on this subject, but I will tell you this: there's no way to predict. There's absolutely no way to predict what it's going to be like for you. It's different for everybody. For me, it wasn't bad at all. I mean, it was just like a light cold. For my girlfriend, this was 2 months ago, and she still can't smell or taste. And it's been several months. And I'm going to say one thing, and I'm not even going to respond to comments because this is not a political channel. But if you are vaccinated, whatever you have would have been worse. It doesn't keep you from getting it. It doesn't keep you from getting sick. But if instead of being dead, if you were like really, really sick, well, you might have been dead. And if you were really sick, not very sick, you might have been really sick. So it definitely reduces, it makes your body strong, and it reduces the symptoms of it. Don't comment on it. I'm ignoring your comments. I'm not, this is not political. I'm just stating the fact. It reduces how bad it is for you. That's established. There, don't get mad at me. Watch. But let's see. Wait, I want to watch the numbers. How many people do we lose? I hope we don't lose anybody. I don't play politics. Should you be what?
It's science.
Yeah, I'm just telling you I'm just stating the truth. I mean that much we know. Let's see. Should you be throwing off your heel at the end of your exit or off your tiptoes? All right. So here's the fact. Don't think about your feet. Your feet are going to go exactly where they need to go based on your body, your joints, the way your body's configured, the angle you're approaching the shot, how much weight you've transferred. I mean, these are all things that happen automatically. Foot placement isn't something you do. It's a byproduct of the throw. It's like asking Michael Jordan. It's like, well, what part of your foot are you on when you do this thing? The answer is, if he knows the answer, it's because he's watched a video of himself throwing and says, oh, apparently right about then I shift from this foot to that heel and then I go up on my toe. Oh, I come off my toe. But he is not thinking, okay, shift from heel to toe right here. Foot placement is a byproduct of the throw. So stop thinking about your feet. Put your feet down and let them go the way they go. It's oh God, how do I say this? I don't want to get off into a rant here. Y'all want to hear a rant? No? Basically, foot placement is something that happens automatically. It happens with the subconscious part of our brain. That's just a fact. It's a biological thing. It's an evolutionary thing. When our brains put our feet down in the exact place they need to be to protect our knees from exploding. Because 100,000 years ago, if you blow out your knee, you can't hunt and you die. Fortunately, the reason we have survived as a species, because that part of our brain that's smarter than the conscious part puts our feet down in the right place every single time. So when you're running through a jungle and you're hunting for food and you're stepping on sticks and grass and slipping in mud and then stepping on rocks and then making turns, your brain puts your feet down in the exact only spot they could possibly be to protect your knee, because our knees are pathetic and they're weak. But the reason we don't blow them out is that part of our brain is smarter than us. So don't think about your feet. Your feet will go in the right spot.
I think it's pretty well established they're all here to listen to you rant, so I don't.
Y'all want to? Okay. No, it's just that. So one of the biggest things about teaching disc golf is that one of the biggest mistakes people make when they teach is that they don't differentiate between what you do on a throw and what happens on a throw, right? When you watch someone throw and you go frame by frame, you can break down 50 things that it appears that they do, but they don't do all those things. Like, do you think when Paul Macbeth throws, he consciously does 50 different things on his backhand? In 1.3 seconds, Paul makes 50 decisions on angle and shifting and rotation and pull and acceleration and planting. And like, no, that's not what you do. Most of the things happen as a byproduct of doing several things. You do several things, everything else happens automatically. And so that's the confusion that people have, is that they break it down and they go, oh, this is when the player did this. The player didn't do that. The player did this thing over here, and that thing that you're looking at happened automatically. Have I played the first disc golf course in Ohio, Roscoe Ewing? Yes, it's also the course that has generated more world champions than any other course in the world, I think. I bet Oak Grove Park has created more just because of the early days of the sport, maybe, at least in disc sports. But Roscoe Ewing is the home of Avery Jenkins, world champion, 3-time champion Valerie Jenkins, world women's masters champion Sharon Jenkins, and some player named Ricky Wysocki. They all came from there. Although there's a course, I'm sorry, no, there's a course in Georgia, in Alpharetta, Georgia. Oh God, I can't remember the name of it. I think has produced 6 world champions. Can't remember the name of it though. So it's maybe not the most, but it's just weird that it happened that way. Other than distance thrown, what is the biggest change in the game from when you started? Well, everybody's got every shot just about nowadays. You know, everybody's good at everything. Everybody can putt. Everybody can scramble. Everybody always quotes around everybody. When you say everybody or always, you're never going to get it right. Or, you know, someone's going to find an exception. But for the most part, everybody's got every single shot now. I mean, look at how good Simon's sidearm is. Like, Simon has a fantastic sidearm, and he's in sudden death on hole 3 at in Des Moines, but it's a sidearm hole. Simon throws sidearm. So everyone that's probably the biggest thing, is just how complete everybody is. And like, as far as the biggest change, well, the game in the MPO is also just how deep the field is. When I was in Des Moines, I shot 1,024 rated golf for 3 rounds. Like, that is so good. And 35 people beat me. It's ridiculous. Like, what are you talking about? Like that wins worlds 20 years ago. And now it's like it's not even in the top 35 at an Elite Series event. It's ridiculous. The biggest change, though, in the sport, hands down, is the women's division. You know, the fact that A, there is a women's division, but B, the level of play is just astonishingly good. But when I watched the FPO division, I don't think they're that close to where they're going to get to. I think it's going to evolve a lot more. I think that FPO division is almost like NPO 20 years ago, where it's like clearly really good players, but the game was nowhere near like where it's going to be. Like when I look at the MPO division, I don't think it's going to get that much better. I mean, you might have someone like Gannon Burr come along that's maybe, maybe someday he's slightly better than the top players today, like razor thin slightly, but I think we're close to our ceiling. Like you're never at your ceiling. The sport's going to evolve, but we're pretty damn close to where we're going to get to in NPO. But I don't think FPO is there. I think FPO is still going to get better, but it is so far ahead of where it was 20 years ago that it's not even close. I guess the MPO is too, but that's been the biggest change. On my world tour starting in October, in addition to teaching the sport, would you also be able to help on giving ideas how to improve the courses you see in newly developed countries? Yeah, I mean, I just want to do whatever I can to promote the sport worldwide. So this is kind of how I'm looking at this. This is going to sound kind of weird, but when I explain it, I think it'll make sense. This is my version of a midlife crisis. My midlife crisis is not going back out on the pro tour. My motivation for doing that is strictly because I wanted to be a part of this thing that I've always dreamed of that wasn't there when I was younger. But here's my midlife crisis. Not even a midlife crisis, but it's kind of like that. So the greatest time in my life. I mean, God, how do you phrase it? Maybe not the greatest time in my life. This is the greatest time in my life right now. But the time that I enjoyed disc golf the most, probably a better way to put it, just purely enjoyed the sport, was when I was a kid. And I was at Oak Grove Park, and nobody knew what disc golf was. Well, frisbee golf back then. Like if you went to the store, nobody knew what you were doing. If the person on the plane asked you, "Hey, why are you flying to someplace?" and you told them, you'd have to explain what frisbee golf was. Like you were shocked if the person on the plane had ever even heard of your sport. But it was the most exciting time to be a part of the sport because the energy of the newness of the sport for the first people, the early adopters to embrace the game, was just, there was nothing like it. It was kind of like being part of a cult where we were a bunch of misfits. Nobody understood what we were doing except each other. And we were just on the outside, right? But it was this camaraderie and family atmosphere that just, it's not going to be the same when the sport's bigger. I'm excited to go to places where the sport's brand new. And I want to like revisit my youth in a way. And I want to go to a town. I want to go to a country where there's only one course in the country and there's 19 people in the club, but they love disc golf and they're just starved to promote the sport. And I want to go there and I want to enjoy their energy and their fun and their love of the game. But I also want to help what I can do, help grow the sport, because we have learned how to grow the sport. We have learned how to promote the sport. We didn't know anything back then. Now we do. So for sure, like this kind of a long answer, but for sure, I want to be part of helping the sport in all these different places. One of the things I can do, like it's not a big deal that I am good at disc golf. In the grand scheme of things, who cares? Like, it's not a big deal that I'm going to this foreign country, unless the people in that country tell people that it's a big deal. And then all of a sudden it becomes a big deal. That's just marketing. So if a country where, a club in a country actually promotes it and says, hey, there's somebody coming here that's a really big deal. Again, I don't think I am, but if you promote it, it's a big deal. Do we get media? Do television stations come out? Do I get to appear on local radio? Does the press come out? I mean, can we make this into a big deal and promote the sport because we tell people that it's a big deal? And if I can be a part of this, I'll do anything to help the sport grow around the world and be a part of it again. Yeah, and I cannot wait to go to Malaysia. Like, that's going to be like, it's perfect. I can't, I'm just I'm the luckiest person in the world. I can't wait. I heard the Saudis are starting a rival disc golf tour. You in? Yeah, this is by the way, that's actually really funny. um I I would be in, but I would never be in anywhere that was exclusive from preventing me from being somewhere else. I don't do politics. I do humans. I have this. I'm going to go this much political for just a second. People are awesome everywhere. Doesn't matter what country you go to on planet Earth. The people are awesome. Their governments, it's the governments that suck, not the people. So I like the people everywhere. So I would be a part of growing disc golf anywhere, because the 97% of people that aren't running the country are my people. They're good people. There, did I go off into a political rant there? Forgive me. but I got the joke, by the way, about the ball golf tour. Yeah, I don't know if they cut me off for like they cut Phil, I might actually consider not playing PDJ tournaments. I mean, I'm human. Going anywhere close to Western North Carolina in the near future? Well, we're gonna be in Charlotte, right? I mean, did I schedule something for the Champions Cup weekend? I'm open that weekend, right?
You have a seminar. We haven't talked about adding some clinics.
Yeah, I might do. Actually, I might do something out there. I had scheduled to be available for the Players Championship, which I've not even come close to qualifying for. I think I'd have to win. Is it just based on points, or if I won one of these tournaments, would I get in? Probably not.
The Tour Championship? Yeah, you'd have to win something to get enough points.
Okay, yeah. So it might be kind of hard to get it at this point. Doesn't mean I can't. But if I'm in North Carolina, yeah, I mean, I love Western North Carolina. I mean, who doesn't like Asheville?
It's this next 3 events that are like
the next 3.
Pittsburgh will get you points, Green Mountain,
yeah,
and then Maple Hill.
Basically, right now, what I'm looking at, and after that's the Skids, right? So what I'm looking at, I played in Pittsburgh. I think I've qualified for Smugs up in Vermont, but I have not qualified for Maple Hill yet. I'm hoping I get in there. I really want to play Maple Hill. I have not qualified for USDGC yet. Like, I just haven't. And but even if I don't get the points for it, there's a qualifier on Monday before, and I will be there trying to qualify. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to qualify. I mean, all I gotta do is go shoot one. I heard it's not that hard to go shoot a decent round out there and qualify. So we'll see. Do I think the Tristan Tanner guy crazy came from the B pool, joined late, so may have already talked about some of it? No, Tristan is one of the most talented disc golfers out there. He's only been playing a few years. He's one of these people that's up and coming and is up and coming fast. He is not a surprise to me. I like Tristan a lot. I've actually golfed with him a lot, and he is way better than his rating shows because he's an up and coming player. He's not. There's no ceiling on his ability. The origin of the knuckle tattoos. I mean, these. Okay, I will tell you the origin of these. This is a great story. So I'll try to make a short version of the story, but I took 13 years off from the sport basically in 2001, and I did well for a bunch of years of the 13 years that I was away. And then my business started struggling, and I came to the conclusion that if I did drugs that kept me from sleeping, that I would be able to save my business, and because I could work, when I have to sleep, right? And that was my whole. So basically things went downhill pretty quickly. They do. Nobody told me that doing drugs would cause you to make bad business decisions. Did y'all know that when you're using drugs, you make poor life decisions? Nobody told me. But anyway,
not those drugs.
Yeah. So basically everything kind of spiraled downward. And then I went through a bad divorce and lost my business, home foreclosed, the bond. It was just by far the lowest point of my entire life. And there's, I'll tell you, I'll give you a slightly longer version of the story because it's actually a good story. So I was at the lowest point in my entire life, and I hadn't been around the disc golf scene for like 13 years. I didn't think anybody thought of me, remembered me, or anything. And I came up with the idea I needed to make some money. I reached out to Dave McCormick at Gateway. He said I could set you up with some discs to try to wholesale them, go talk to some pro shops to carry the discs, be a rep for us. So I went to Fly Green Disc Golf Shop in Denver. And this is basically at the single lowest point in my entire life. It's in 2013. And I felt like the biggest piece of shit, garbage, whatever. I said it'd be a obscenity-free podcast. Sorry. Biggest piece of garbage that ever lived. I felt worthless. I felt useless. I didn't think anybody would love me. I was at the bottom. And I walked into Fly Green Pro Shop. I opened the door, and the very first thing I saw when I opened the door is a poster of me on their wall with my autograph on it. So, wait, what? Like, who the heck remembers me? And I walk in, and the guy behind the counter goes, it's Scott Stokely's here. And I heard him run to the back of the store, and I hear him yelling, Scott Stokely's in the store. And the owners of the store came out and started making a big deal about me. And there was 2 customers in the store, and they started making a big deal about me. And next thing I know, I'm signing autographs, and I'm like, don't these people realize what a loser I am? I'm a drug addict. I'm not worth anything right now. But it was that moment was the first time in a while, at least in a few years, where I felt like I had value. Like I was Scott Stokely again. I was this somebody. And so I signed the autographs and I talked to everybody for a little bit. And then I walked out the store and I said, that's it. I'm giving up drugs. And that lasted about 5 minutes because that's not the way drugs work. 5 minutes later, I was getting high again. But I had it in my head. I like that feeling. That's the feeling I was getting off the drugs, and I got it without the drugs. So it took a couple months, but I made some decisions to get off the drugs. And I would get back into disc golf because that is where I was finding value. That's where I was finding my worth. That's where I was finding my self-esteem. That's where I had my base. Strange as this sounds, is that I disc golf is where people were telling me that I was great. Now it might be because I was good at throwing a frisbee, but when you're in that place, it doesn't matter. That's all I had. I clung to it. I grabbed on really tight to that. And so when I got back into disc golf, one of the first things I did is it's the first tattoos I ever got in my entire life were these. And the reason I got this on there was because I said, I need to make sure that I never leave my base again. And that for now on, for the rest of my life, when you meet me, I want it to be the very first thing you see. It was very important to me that I didn't do it somewhere that could be covered up by a shirt. I wanted it to be out there. Well, like first and foremost, I'm a disc golfer. Okay, you know that I'm a disc golfer? Okay, now I'll tell you my name. Disc golfer first. So I called it like my wedding ring to the sport. That like I'm pretty much like I'll never be able to get a good job. Like I'm pretty much committed now to being a disc golfer. But that's where it all came from. It was my commitment to never being able to separate myself from the sport ever again, and I never have. Well, thank you by the way, thank you. Anytime anybody sends money, I'm flattered by it. If I'm entertaining you or if you feel like I've helped you with my videos, I'll accept it, but it's not required. But thank you.
Stars on Facebook too.
Yeah, stars on Facebook. Love your thoughts about how modern disc golf has zero respect for the legends that laid the foundation for their current success. I heard a commentator say Macbeth is the GOAT. I appreciate Paige's take. I haven't found there to be a lack of respect. Okay, so let me explain. I'm out here every day, and everybody's been nothing but respectful to me. Everybody's been very kind to me. I actually like, I'm probably the only problem I have with the players on tour is they're too respectful of me. Not one of them makes fun of me for being old. And I'm like, I'm one of you guys. Like, you should be making fun of me for being old. And by the way, if I beat you, you damn sure should be making fun of me for being old, because I just beat you. And like, but they're not. They're being so respectful. I've found nothing but respect from the kids out on tour. Now, I do hear people say things like, "What about no one cares about the Masters division?" Well, MP40 they call it now, Masters division. And the thing is, and I said this before I was on tour, when I was out playing MP40 and MP50 tournaments, and this is going to get me in trouble with my older crowd, but it's not my time. It's not our time anymore. This is sports. And in sports, it's the best of the best. It's the elite of the elite. It's about the 25-year-olds. It's about the 20-year-olds. It's not our time. The focus should be on them. It certainly should be on MPO and FPO. That's where the attention should be. And if you're older or younger and competing in that division, great, you're in that division. But I mean, is there a senior pro tennis tour? I bet there's exhibition matches. I bet they go out and play sometimes, but I've never heard of it. We want to see Federer play against Nadal. Like, that's the way sports works, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't feel that that's a lack of respect. Now, Bart Starr, Babe Ruth, Wayne Gretzky are not snubbed the same way. Yeah, I don't feel like anybody's getting snubbed. Like, I don't know what the like. So I've one of the things I've heard from some of the older players, and this is, again, I'm not trying to get like these. By the way, the older players are my best friends. This is my family I'm talking about. So I'm not like knocking anybody out there for anything, like or anything. I'm just trying to be, but I'm also going to be honest and straight with y'all. Is that I've heard some of the older players, they've said things like, "What has the PDJ ever done for us? What has the sport ever done for us?" And I'm like, what is this? What do you mean? What has the sport done for you? What is like, why are you entitled to be owed something by the sport? Like, what did the PDJ do for you? It created a platform and an environment for you to play the game, play and compete in tournaments. And if you had pursued the business side of disc golf, you'd be making a damn good living right now in disc golf. I mean, the sport's blown up. You could be making a great living right now in the sport, not with prize money. Who cares? I don't care about prize money, but the sport doesn't owe you anything. And I don't think the sport owes me a damn thing. Like, I've milked the sport for everything I can get out of it, but it's not because the sport owes me. It's I've gone and taken what I've wanted from the sport. I've put myself out in front of people. That's how I've got the attention. Not because when are they going to mention me on coverage? Who says I'm entitled to be mentioned on coverage? If I want to be on coverage, I need to shoot 1060 rounds, and then they'll not only will they mention me on coverage, they'll put me on coverage. Right? I don't think the sport owes me something, and so I don't feel like the older players have like. I don't feel like anybody's snubbed. I don't. I mean, I know that that's just my opinion. By the way, 100% opinion. You're completely welcome to a different opinion, and I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong. But I don't know what the sport owes. I don't know what the sport owes somebody. Like, you got to play disc golf, your whole life, play tournaments with the best people in the entire world. I mean, that's enough. I think that's wonderful. And again, if you wanted to make a living in disc golf, there have been endless opportunities to make a living in this sport.
There still are.
And there still are. Mm-hmm. There still are. You have to go out and take it. I mean, it's like, if you're an older player, it's like, well, you're playing catch up. Well, go make 400 or 500 YouTube videos. Put yourself out there. It'll take a few years, but you'll get something out of it. But it's not going to get handed. Nothing's handed to you in life. My opinion. Please don't be mad at me. Let's see. What was in my bag in the 90s? By the way, thank you very much for the donations. I hope the answers were okay. I'm always going to be honest, and it's not always. I don't always give the most popular answers, but I will always tell you when it's just my opinion, which it usually is. And so that's just my opinion. What's in my bag in the 90s so you can get a Discraft in the bag with Stokely? Well, I threw X clones and Cyclones and magnets and MRVs and MRXs.
Okay, say what they were.
That's it.
What's the magnet?
The magnet was a putter. It's like an AVR or a Judge or a Luna. You know, it's a putter. The MRV was an understable mid-range disc. The MRX was a slightly overstable mid-range disc for the time. An X-Clone was an overstable driver, and the Cyclone was a stable driver. But there wasn't a lot of choices back then. You had to really, you didn't have all the different little nuances of flight that you have today. You had to manipulate the flight of the disc. You know, the idea of taking a straight flying disc and then making the disc fly at all the different angles was a lot more part of the game back then than it is today. You know, the players are way better today at disc golf. I mean, no question. But there was a certain type of shot shaping that I think the older players, maybe that specific part of the game, were a little bit better at back then. Taking an understable disc, like an understable speed 6 disc, and then throwing it with a hyzer and making it turn over and do an S-turn through the woods in North Carolina. I mean, I don't think anybody today, very few players today can do shots like that. I mean, people like Matty O can. People like Michael Johansson. Like, there's people that can do these types of really shaping shots, but it's not as much part of the game as it used to be. So, but you had a few discs, you had to make them do everything. And by the way, they would change their flight characteristics during the round because they would get beaten up with old plastic. You would have a disc that flew straight. You would hit a tree. You would have to look at it and go, "Oh, I bet it's understable now." And then you'd have to put more hyzer on it on the next hole than you planned because you were guessing what it was going to do. That's a true story. Like, discs changed their flight characteristics during a round of golf. It was insane. What's my favorite ace, personally and to have seen? Favorite ace, God, the favorite shot I've ever seen that I didn't throw, that I witnessed, was James Conrad, of course. That was the greatest shot in the history of disc golf, but it wasn't an ace. Greatest ace I've ever seen. Well, my favorite ace is probably, I got an ace in the final 9 of the Kansas City Wide Open in front of the gallery, in the finals. That was fun. It's like a 360-foot shot with an X-Clone. I also at one time had the highest elevated ace at like 12,000 feet. I don't know if that's the highest ace ever still, but it was at the time. I also had an ace one time where at World's Biggest Disc Golf Weekend, we got a shark in our players pack. And I took the disc out of the players pack to shark, and the very first throw was hole 2 at Moraga. I still remember I got a hole in 1 with that shark. And then I put it up on my wall, and I had a disc on my wall that had only been thrown once, but it had never not aced, ever. My favorite ace to watch, God, what would it be?
Mine is the one where Kevin Jones fell down.
You like the Kevin Jones ace when he fell down?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's ridiculously good.
That's crazy.
I like Nico's ace. Nico's ace down in Tucson was pretty sick.
You tell him that I haven't seen you ace.
What?
Tell him that I haven't seen you ace.
Yeah, she's never even seen me ace. I never get aces. What's my favorite ace to watch, though? What the heck? My best friend, Matt Goodwin, was the first person to ace hole 6 at Oak Grove Park, which was epic. I was the first person to ace hole 12 at Oak Grove Park, which was kind of fun. I can't think of one that's my favorite to watch, except for I'm going to call James Conrad's fairway ace. I'm going to cheat. Am I taking a boat or going by plane? Okay, so I am going by plane, and if you're asking this because you've heard that I'm afraid of flying, you are correct. I'm terrified. Don't post about how it's safer than driving and all that stuff. I'll just block you. I won't really. I hate flying. I despise it. It's like it's not that I'm afraid of flying. I have no fear whatsoever of flying. If you could knock me out and I didn't have to experience the flight, I wouldn't be nervous on the way to the airport. I'm not afraid of flying. I know flying's safe. I have a anxiety/panic attack during takeoff. When I'm taking off, the cortisol starts rushing out of my brain, and I hyperventilate, and it's the worst feeling in the entire world. It's the only time I do drugs is I'll be seriously drugged up for the flights. But I made the decision that starting October, I'm going to be traveling the world. Is that I've just committed myself that I won't not do a destination because of my fear of flying. Like, that's it. If I want to go somewhere, I'm going to fly, period. Nothing's going to stop me from getting on the plane. And I'm terrified. when I think about it, like my hands are sweaty. Like right now, I'm like wringing my hands together. I'm just getting sweaty thinking about it. So I'd like to go by boat, but I don't want to be on a boat for 6 weeks instead of a 13-hour flight. How many times did I see a concert? I've never seen a concert at Red Rocks. I'm familiar with Red Rocks, of course. Bill Burr just did a special at Red Rocks, which I wasn't at.
You wish you could throw a frisbee into the stage.
I would put frisbee on the stage. Maybe I threw a frisbee onto the field at Dodger Stadium once. You're not supposed to do that, but
During the game?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like back. Okay, I'm going to go off onto a rant here. When it comes to things at baseball games, because I'm sorry, baseball is really boring. The best, greatest thing in the history of baseball, it's not a no-hitter, right? A no-hitter is just two people playing catch for 3 hours. By the way, I stole that from Daniel Tosh, but it's a great line. It's not a grand slam. It's not the World Series. The greatest thing in the history of Major League Baseball is somebody streaking during a game. Like,
That's never not funny.
It's never not funny. If you are younger, you don't remember this. But back in the 70s and 80s, on a fairly regular basis, somebody would get drunk, strip down completely naked, and right in the middle of a game, just run around the baseball field being chased by the umpires, buck-ass naked. And the thing about it is it was never not funny. 50,000 people would be roaring in laughter. Everybody was right there with their kids, laughing with their kids at the naked man. Sorry, always a man. By usually we mean always. And nobody was offended. Nobody got hurt. Nobody said that's a sexual predator out there. We need to put him on a list.
Nobody body shamed him.
No, nobody. Well, no one body shamed him because there was never a bodybuilder out on the field. There was always a guy with a dad bod. Like, it was a 20-year-old with a dad bod. But it was always amazing. It's the best thing. Like, you went to a game hoping there'd be a streaker. And then now it's like you have to register as a sex offender if you get caught streaking. It's like, what the hell happened? Streaking is always funny. I'll die on this hill. That's the best thing about baseball. I don't know how the conversation went. It wasn't really a conversation if I'm just the only one talking. I don't know how it wound up there. Streaking, always funny. By the way, I came up with this idea. I wanted to start a website because when I started realizing about 15 years ago that there were Starbucks on every single corner, I was going to start streaking Starbucks. And I wanted to start a website called streakingstarbucks.com. And I thought it was great. What I would encourage people to do is to go streak your local Starbucks, take pictures of it, of you streaking this local Starbucks, right? And then you'd have to block out certain parts of the picture, I know, right? Just, because, Americans are weird about this. But streakingstarbucks.com encourages people all over the country to protest Starbucks by streaking them. And I was told by a friend who was an attorney that I would get into serious, felony type legal trouble for this because of the fact that apparently streaking is no longer funny. There, I'm okay. I'm over it.
Now it could just be a TikTok trend.
Now it could be a TikTok trend. No, because people, I don't know, the world has gotten more uptight. Okay, I'll say it one last time. Streaking, always funny. Okay, it's nothing to do with disc golf, right? One of these days, someone's going to... Yeah, sports. Yeah, you can't do this anymore. You literally have to register, like people register sex offenders if they streak. What is going on with us? What is wrong with us as a culture when streaking is penalized instead of putting a medal on these people?
Being funny.
All right. How would one find resources for making video series or videos about the history of those pioneering disc golf courses? Would interviews be necessary? Yeah, Eric Vandenberg. That's the person to talk to. I believe I can. Eric Vandenberg, I think, is probably the #1 authority on this. He could probably put you in touch with it. But all you do is reach out to the local Facebook page. So I started doing a series, Disc Golf History and Legends. I was going to be interviewing the old timers.
They're in a playlist.
Oh, I even have a playlist on my YouTube channel of disc golf
Spotlight.
histories and legends, right? So that's even there. But I started doing history of disc golf in each state. And I originally was going to do like all 50 states. It turned out nobody was really interested. And the way YouTube works is if you put out too many videos with only a few hundred people watching, YouTube starts to view your content as becoming less interesting, and you get less exposure for the interesting content. So that's why I stopped it. But all you got to do, it's really easy. You want to do find out about the history of disc golf in Indiana, post to a couple club pages in Indiana and just ask and like, who should I talk to about the history of the sport? And they'll give you the names of a few people, and you reach out to them and they'll tell you either they're the expert or they'll say, oh no, you need to talk to so-and-so. It's with social media. I'm sorry. I think social media is the greatest invention ever. It's really easy to find those people. Just post and then go down the rabbit hole. Sorry, I got sniffles. Was Odd Job my favorite James Bond character? I don't know if I've ever watched a James Bond movie. I've seen I saw a couple of the old ones when I was younger, but I'm pretty unknowledgeable. Is unknowledgeable?
A favorite Bond?
A favorite Bond? No.
No?
No,
Sean Connery is my favorite.
You like Sean Connery?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sean Connery was great. But they all were. I mean, James Bond's iconic.
Yeah.
Yep. Do I snack on Double G jerky? I don't, but I am the hugest Garrett Gurthie fan. That he is one of the nicest, genuine, honest, good kids out on the pro tour. I fully support everything he does, and everyone loves his jerky. It's good. I don't, just because I haven't got around to buying it. But hey, real quick, let me give a quick plug. If y'all like talking about the history of disc golf, this book is my autobiography. You can go to scottstokely.net to order the print copy, or you can find the audiobook links to download the audiobook. But it's also, remember, I first played disc golf in 1976. And there's also is also the history of disc golf, but it's not names and dates. This isn't like some terrible high school textbook. This is actually growing up in disc golf through my eyes, and I think it's a neat story. But it's also about disc golf. I mean, from the early Wild West days, what it used to be like, to the evolution as it's turning into a real sport. But this is I couldn't be more proud of this. So go check this out. Gun to my head, who do you think's winning tomorrow, FPO and MPO? I mean, Tatar is obviously locked in. I think Aaron's going to pull it off. Because the thing is, he's not, it's not a fluke that he's there. He's not some wow, how did he get here? He's going to crumble. Aaron's great. He's had some great finishes this year. He's not going to choke. Like, Aaron's going to play solid golf tomorrow. And as hard as it is to bet against anybody else, I think it's Aaron's. I really do. And I couldn't be happier. I'm a huge AG fan. And then Tatar's. It's Tatar's year. I think a lot of us knew that it was Tatar's year going into this tournament. And she's not. I mean, no one's really surprised that she's at the top. I mean, it's her year. It was my profession before disc golf. I didn't have a profession before disc golf. No, I did. Hey, another old man story. Ready for this? This is going to be one of those beautiful life lesson stories. If you're younger, this is a story for you. If you're older, it's just fun, but this is a life lesson. So this is when I decided to go out on tour. So started playing when I was 7, dropped out of school when I was 15 to play every day. You really couldn't make a living at disc golf back then. Come 1992, 6 people have gone out and toured before me. Now, touring meant winning like, $200 at a tournament. You sell a couple discs out of the trunk of your car. You're eating bologna sandwiches. You're not making a living, except in the sense that you are. I mean, you're putting gas in your tank and you're feeding yourself by playing disc golf. No one had health insurance or anything like that. But it wasn't really a living. So when I did what I was told I was supposed to do, got to go to college. Every terrible teacher I had in high school told me the only way to be successful in life is college. Got to go to college. It's the only way. If you don't go to college, you're going to be a loser. So, and I listened to them. And I did 3 semesters of college. And in my 3rd semester, I was working the graveyard shift at Kinko's. It's a copy shop. Now it's the FedEx store. But working the graveyard shift, and I had a tournament coming up in a couple months. And it was like 2 months away or something like that. And I had earned a day off. Like every, 10 weeks of work, you earn 1 paid day off or some whatever corporate policy they had. But I had earned this day off. And the tournament's like 2 months away. So I asked my boss for the Friday off before a tournament, 2 months away. And he starts giving me the 3rd degree. And he's like, oh my God, you know how hard it is to replace somebody on graveyard shift? I don't know what we're going to do. How are we going to find somebody to cover for you? And I'm like, I'm thinking like, but I mean, I earned this by working your graveyard shift for you. And now you're like making me feel guilty about wanting a day off. But not only that, I don't care about Kinko's. I care about this tournament coming up. And I'm basically having to beg this guy for a day off that I earned. And at the time, I thought he was like a grown-up. I mean, now I think he was probably 25 or something like that now, but I was 20, so he seemed like a grown-up. But I'm begging him, I'm pleading with him, and I'm trying to make my case. And finally he's like, fine, we'll give you the day off. I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll find somebody. I forget what he said, but I know he was just making me feel terrible or trying to. And I walked out of Kinko's that day. And I said, if I keep going to college, I'm going to be having this exact same conversation in 15 years. I'll be being paid more for it. But ultimately, someone else is going to be in control over my life. If I'm working for somebody else, I'm not going to have control over my life. Some other person is going to dictate when I work, what tournaments I go to. How does that make any sense at all? And very shortly after that, I quit the job and went on tour, and made $100 or $200. So I made a little more than that. I was merchandising, but that was the moment. So that was the only real job I had before I went on tour. And then I ended up doing disc golf for a living for years. And then for 8 years, and after disc golf, I worked for myself for the next 13 years. And then I've continued to work for myself with a couple-year break to sell software, just to get my daughter through the last years of college. I've always worked for myself since. I've never worked for anybody else. But it started with that argument, the only job I had before disc golf, where I realized that someone else having control over my life I was never going to be happy doing that. Just me. Who do I want to see win tomorrow in both divisions? Would you caddy if asked? I would caddy. I want to see Aaron win. Not that I'm closer to him than any other players, but he's earned it. Like, he's earned this position. He's earned the right to win. Whoever finishes the best after 5 rounds has earned the right to win. But I would say that he's definitely earned it. As far as in FPO, it's, I'm not super close with any of the FPO players. There's a few like Juliana and Jennifer Allen, that I'm close to, and I like all of them. I mean, there's not one that I don't like, but there's none that I'm like, that's my buddy. Holland, maybe. I like her a lot. Hannah, who she made the cut. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Has there any been? I don't know. I've been so busy focusing on NPO that I've been a bit separate from that division. But if any of them asked me to caddy for them, I would tell them yes. I'd be honored to. Like, I wouldn't say no to any of them. And by the way, whoever has caddying for is the one I'd be rooting for, because I'd be in charge of their game. Don't want to spoil anything, but nice job with the Celebrity Pro-Am this year. I don't think it's the spoiling anything now. It's been out for a week. Yeah, thank you so much. That was super fun. Yeah, that was nice. I got this skin stink down pat. I just can't figure out how to put the rounds together at a tournament. But I seem to got the skin stink figured out. What do I put on my hot dog? Mustard, ketchup, or mayo?
Relish. Sauerkraut?
Get out. So I only don't like 5 foods: mustard, pickles, avocado, nuts, and mushrooms. So I would have to say mustard and relish, no. Mayo and ketchup. God, this is gonna sound terrible, but I wouldn't put anything on it, and I would eat it in a lettuce wrap.
Chili and cheese.
Chili and cheese. I would put chili and cheese on it and no bun.
No onions either.
Yeah. I'm so fixated on not putting on an extra 1/3 of a pound of excess body fat this season. So I'm trying my best to be as best possible shape as I can possibly be in. So I'm not anti-hot dog though. And it's called hot dog. She makes fun of me for calling it a hot dog. She thinks it's called a hot dog. Like, what's a hot dog? You ever heard of a hot dog? It's a hot dog. Why is that funny to you? It's a hot dog. Everybody knows it's a hot dog.
I'm not sure what that is. Like, it's because Californians don't have accents.
It's a hot dog.
So you
It's
can't
a
be
hot
speaking with an
dog.
accent because
What's
you're
a-
from California.
Dude, hot dogs are a myth. Hot dogs are the Sasquatch of processed nitrates-loaded garbage food.
They are.
Hot dogs, on the other hand, are
But
delicious.
Amy Good has a good point.
The hot dog question, the hot dog was good time to promote the sauces. That's right. Thank you. You are Amy. You have now been promoted to second in command of my marketing team. You're going to be working directly under Adriana. Yeah, so I have barbecue sauce. If y'all aren't aware, go to scottstokely.net. I have 4 flavors of barbecue sauce. Smoky, spicy, Kansas City sweet, and Carolina vinegar. And those 4 flavors of sauces each have on the bottles the letter D-I-S-C. Wait, D-I-S-C, but I'm not sure what those letters spell because I dropped out of school when I was 15 years old to play Frisbee full time. But
Which sauce would taste best with the wiener?
Which sauce would taste best with the hot dog?
Mm-hmm.
I would say, I guess it would probably depend on what type. I mean, they would all taste good on bratwurst. Bratwurst sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Amy. Jeff Sheldon, been playing since 1984. Your resurgence has inspired me to play more and strive to continue to grow. Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Your course is in Edmondson and Oskaloosa, Iowa, which is established in 84. Ever played there? I'm going to say yes. And the only reason why is because I'm familiar with Oskaloosa, and I'm not sure why I would be had I not played there. You know, like when I ran my special needs classes, my Blue Power events, I went to 270 different cities around the country. So I kind of been to like a lot of places. And I know when I went, I'd go to Iowa, I'd set up like 8 events. And I think I set up one there in 2015 or 16. But if I'm wrong, I could easily be wrong.
Signed Bergs, signed Marvels, and signed Wizards is what you have right now.
Yes. Oh, yeah. At ScottStokely.net, I have signed Marvels. I only have a couple of these left, by the way. There won't be any more either because I'm not going to be at the factory or, excuse me, at my warehouse anytime soon. So if you don't get a signed one now, you're not going to get one unless you buy one to come out to the event. I've signed Bergs. We also have K1 Bergs available, which is the more overstable version. I love this disc. I threw it really well this weekend. I've got harps. I've got wizards. I have lutes and stalls from Castoplast.
And if you're a dyer, there are white Bergs.
Yep.
Well, they dye well.
That what? Oh, we have white Bergs also. Yeah, if you're looking to dye discs, check out the white Bergs. My favorite Halloween costume. My favorite Halloween costume wasn't one that I wore. A kid in Portland, Oregon, dressed as me for Halloween. It's one of those moments where it's like, now I've made it. Someone dressed as me for Halloween. I'll tell you another story about when I made it. It's just these little moments, right? These are all just silly things. But, you know, playing in obscurity for decades, and then all of a sudden these little things happen. You're like, well, that's interesting. This is interesting. Like, that wouldn't have happened a year ago. We're driving through someplace in the Midwest, and we go to a steakhouse, just like some local steakhouse somewhere. And we ordered, I think it was like a steak with ribs. We each got the same thing. But because it was with the ribs, it was like an 8-ounce sirloin, like a cheap piece of meat, but whatever. But that's what it was. We each got the little 8-ounce sirloin. So they bring Adriana her food, set it down in front of her. And then when they set my food down in front of me, it's this gigantic piece of meat, like this beautiful cut of steak. And the waiter sets it down and says, oh, by the way, we upgraded you to the 20-ounce ribeye, Mr. Stokely. Oh, there's no charge, of course. And I was like, you know, that's like, what? Like that, like we're in the middle of nowhere. So this is how famous I am. I'm famous enough to get free upgrades on steaks sometimes, but not famous enough for my girlfriend to get a steak upgrade. Everybody asked if I shared mine with her. Of course I did not. Did I share mine with you?
No way.
No way. No, I probably did, but
No, you didn't.
no, I didn't.
No.
Okay, good. Well, good. Well, there. That's what you get for not being a famous disc golfer. Maybe if you were better at putting, you'd get your own 20-ounce ribeye. Playing your first B-tier tournament in a week. Any advice? Huge fan, by the way. Thank you so much. Okay, so the easiest thing everyone says, oh, just have fun, just have fun. But that's actually a terrible answer, because when people ask for advice on the tournament, of course they want to have fun. The question is, what can you do to have fun, or what will make it less fun? The best thing you can do, number one, I don't know if it's your first tournament, but try to become familiar with, like, make sure you know the basic rules. If it's your first tournament, do your best to make sure you understand basic rules and basic courtesy. When it's your turn to throw, when to not be moving, when to not be talking, you know, how you mark your lie. Just that makes it easier. Then you're not stressed over doing something wrong. I always think it's important to be the type of person people want to play with. You know, one of the most important things you can do is, if people have a good experience playing with you, then the next time you're on a card with them, they're happy. And when they're happy to play with you, that's how you make friends. If they're unhappy because they're stuck on a card with you, you're not really making friends that way. It also makes the group less fun. So I would say the biggest thing is to have a basic understanding of the rules, and then make sure that you act in a way that is a positive influence on the group, and then you'll click with everybody and have fun. Do I want to come down 2 doors to 316 and sign a Berg, Scott? Mike from the elevator. I would be 316. I'd make a note. I'll come by 316. I will stop by. You might have to remind me. So message me on Facebook too if I forget. I got to meet with Albert Tam about some stuff, and I'm going to be logging off in 35 minutes to call him to actually meet and chat and talk some business with him, because it's my last chance to have time with him. You have a slow arm and need a straight mid-range with a little fade. Any thought? If your arm speed is slow, anything stable like a buzz or a rock or a truth is basically going to fade a little bit. I personally love the harp, and I'm not just trying to sell you my Tour Series harp. The reason I have a Tour Series harp is specifically because I love the harp. Harp has a little bit of fade. What's your next move for the rest of the year before I head off to Europe? Oh, God. So in October, we're going to Australia for a month, and then we're going to be in New Zealand for 5 or 6 weeks. And then I'm going to go to Singapore, Malaysia, Cambodia, and Thailand for like 2 months. And then we're going to head over to the first event in Croatia. But if we have time after the tournament in Cambodia before Croatia, if we have a couple weeks, we haven't decided we're going to take a couple weeks. You just go someplace fun, like either Turkey or Greece.
So, but the next move before we leave is the championship skins.
Yeah, the last tournament is the big, the champion. Yeah.
They just launched the site to get, the raffle packs.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah. So
discgolffinal4.com.
Thank you. All right. So the big, gigantic championship skins match is the last weekend.
22nd.
Or the weekend of the 22nd of October at Eagles Crossing. And just a heads up, I don't want to brag or anything, but I kind of won the last big money skins match, and the other $20,000 skins match that wasn't the big money skins match, I actually won that one too. So I've actually this year I won the 2 biggest skins matches in the history of disc golf. Took place this year. I actually won them both against, Calvin, Ricky, Paul, Conrad, like a who's, Simon, Brody, like it's a who's who of disc golfers. I actually won both of them. So I'm not saying I'm the favorite going into the biggest money skins match, but you certainly can't count me out. I won the biggest too. So anyways, you go to discgolffinal4.com, you can pick your winner, and you get a bunch of merchandise when you pick your winner, but you also win prizes if that player wins. Last time 480 people bet on the big money skins match, and I was actually flattered. Of the 480, 80 of them picked me over Simon, Brody, and Calvin, and then I won. So those 80 players actually won like a ton of stuff for picking me. But discgolffinal4.com. Oh, and then I'm going to the Amateur National Championships in Austin after the biggest money skins tournament, or the Final Four. I'm going to the National Championships in Austin for like 3 days to do some demos and some shows and some.
The keynote speaker.
Yeah, he asked me to be like the keynote speaker at the opening ceremonies and everything. It's really fun. I've seen many posts and debates lately on what is or isn't considered an ace. I'd be happy to make any, no matter what the distance. Here's an ace. If you are on the tee pad of a hole and you throw a disc and it goes and it lands as a legal completion of the hole, that's an ace. Period. End of discussion. I don't care if it's in a practice round. I don't care if it's on your fourth mulligan. It's still an ace. Now it's like, well, people say it's not an ace because it wasn't in a tournament or something like that. It wasn't your first throw. It wasn't a tournament ace, but it's still an ace. It does not matter. If you stand on a golf hole and you hit a little white ball and it lands on the green and it rolls and falls in the cup, that's a hole in one. So that's it. Yeah, I don't even know how that's even a debate. That's what an ace is. Will I be in Charlotte? Yeah, I'll be there for I'm still trying to qualify for the
USDGC.
Oh no, that's Charlotte. I'm trying to qualify for USDGC, but then the one in Charlotte is not USDGC.
Oh,
that's
the
DGPT championships. It doesn't look like I'm going to be qualifying for that one. I think I technically still can, but we'll have to see.
3 events left to make.
3 events left. I need to probably win a couple of them. It's not impossible, but it's a long shot.
2 top 30 placements would probably get you enough points to compete in it.
In the championship?
I think so.
Really?
Enough points to be in. Yeah.
How many people qualify?
It's 80 and ties out of Maple Hill.
Oh, that's for Maple Hill.
That's to get into the tour.
Champion? I thought it was only 36 for the championship, or 32.
I don't think so.
Okay, could be wrong. Okay.
Anyway, if you get into Maple Hill and you place well,
yeah,
you move on.
I still got a chance. I mean, I got a chance. By the way, I still got the sniffles. I had the sniffles all week. I had them beginning of the week. I was sick the whole week leading up to Worlds. So stupid. Have I ever streaked at an MLB game? No, and I promise you, I've wanted to. Have I mentioned that streaking is always awesome? No one has ever streaked a sporting event that wasn't awesome. I'm telling you, this is. Don't even get me started on that again. I think it would be amazing. I'll tell you what. If there was no legal issues with it, and I wasn't going to go to jail and have to get on some offender list for it, I would consider it. I think that's hilarious.
I mean, considering you're never going to own a home again, the penalties for you are a lot less.
The penalties are less.
But still, we don't need the legal trouble.
We don't need the legal trouble. Yeah, I've put that whole legal trouble thing in my rearview mirror. Am I excited to play Nobo next week? And have heard anything about the course yet? I just heard that it's good, and I heard that it's hard, and I am excited because I'm going to shred there. I'm positive I'm going to tear it up. I've been playing so good. I just had 3 poor rounds this week, but I've been playing great golf for several months, and I expect to play great golf there.
So hopefully you're not allergic to Pittsburgh, because whatever's going on with you needs to stop.
What?
The sniffles.
The sniffles? I know. I've had the sniffles for 10 days. Well, I was sick before the whole week before Worlds. I got here early, and I opted to not practice the courses because I was like, do I practice the courses when I'm sick, or do I get rest and get better? And there's not really a right decision when you're sick. You got to deal with it. And so I opted to not practice the courses. And, in hindsight, had I practiced the courses, I would have played better. But that's hindsight. And I'm not blaming being sick for not playing well, because it's sports. People play with injuries. People get sick. People have personal problems. They have deaths in their family. There's, people deal with stuff in tournaments all the time. So, being sick probably affected me, but you could say that about half the field, something's affecting them. So I'm not blaming it for anything, but that's what's going on. All right. Been playing for 38 years. Took a few years off. For the most part, when it came back, everyone was wearing backpacks. That's when I knew the game was in a new phase. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, the backpacks are great. I think for a lot of people, because it is you can carry more discs, but also it distributes the weight evenly on both shoulders. So it's probably healthier for you. It doesn't strain one side of your body. Anything that's asymmetric, in theory, is probably worse for your body in the long term than not. I will tell you this, and I'm not just trying to sell you carts, because I do have golf carts available. You go to scottstokely.net. There's a link to where you can buy the Scott Stokely golf carts. But golf carts are the way to go. Unless you're on a course that has a bunch of hills and roots and it doesn't work. The first time you use a cart, you'll never go back. It's so great. Like the carts that I sell, you actually have a seat and a backrest on them, so you can actually sit down in between holes. It's perfect. You know, how awesome is Owen Scoggins playing injured and still scoring well? Owen is amazing. I mean, she's the sickest putter. Like she's I mean, she's the one you see out there practicing. When you go out there the day before the tournament, she's at the practice green. You see her as much or more than anybody putting the time in. She's a perfect example of what that level of dedication will do to your putt. I'd be willing to bet she putts. I can't say more than anybody because I don't know what people are doing when I'm not watching, but what I've observed this year is I think she probably puts in more time than anybody. Yeah, Owen's the best. She's great too. She's so sweet. Do I believe what I have won more years ago in today's discs? No, because I mean, back then everybody could reach every hole with the discs that were out there because the courses were all so short. I mean, they were all pitch and putt back then. Basically, the game back in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s, was approaching and putting. And the reason I say approaching and putting was because if everybody can step up and throw the disc up to every basket, they're kind of like approach shots. I mean, I know they're drives. I mean, I don't want to like nitpick what constitutes an approach shot, but I mean, in the modern game, the way we play, I mean, you play a par 4 hole, you might have a 375-foot approach shot. So back then when you had a 230-foot hole, that sure seems like an approach shot. It was only viewed as a drive because the courses were so silly back then. You know, I mean, even the good courses back then, I mean, and a lot of them are a lot of fun. They're really great. They're interesting shots, but it's not golf. I mean, think about like in ball golf. I mean, imagine if ball golf didn't have par 72 courses and every course out there was a city park par 54 course. I mean, that's a whole different game. You got players out there, like it's like basically woods hadn't been invented yet because high-speed drivers hadn't been invented yet. So you have a game where everybody's out there and all they have is 7, 8, and 9 irons and putters. That's basically what it was back then. So yes, technically on that, you know, that 100-yard par 3 on the ball golf course is still a drive because you're at the tee pad hitting the 100-yard shot, but you're doing it with an 8 iron. And everybody out there can reach the green with it. It's kind of like approach shots. And so the modern discs wouldn't have helped. It like I don't even know if I would have kept him any in my bag, to be honest. It's like there was no need for him, like at the courses we played. Maybe like one hole on one course would be like 440 feet or something. You know, that I could still reach it with like a speed 6 disc, but I might have chosen a high-speed driver like once around, maybe. Probably not, though. Was playing by the highway distracting? No, that's just part of the game. There's always distractions. There's always roads. There's always, I mean, not always. I mean, sometimes we get this isolated piece of land, but it's white noise.
With a lot of bicycle riders going through today.
Yeah, there were bicycle riders going through the park. I didn't know if the park was closed.
Jones was supposed to be closed, but they were pretty much tearing down the course too. So
were they?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were people on bikes riding through the course. They've done a good job keeping it.
That's the first time that's been a thing.
Yeah, they've done a great job. I mean, we used to play. I mean, we're spoiled today because back when the early days of the sport, you would play in a public park, and there would be people picnicking on holes at tournaments. And if you even asked them to move, their response would be like, "This is a public park. You can't tell me me and my family were at a picnic, because it wasn't even accepted that the course was a real part of the park. It was just like, this is a park. That's a piece of grass. I have every right. By the way, they were correct. They did have a right to that piece of grass. Technically, the way I always thought of it is, if no one has the baseball field reserved, yes, you have the right to picnic in the outfield. If a team shows up to practice and they don't have documentation that they reserve that, technically you have as much right to sit in the outfield as them. But nobody ever would, because you respect the fact that baseball is a real game. No one's going to sit in the outfield. They sat on the courses. So, I mean, that I spent so many years playing in that now what little distractions they are don't even count. But that's just my frame of reference is that this is great. What's my favorite disc to throw sidearm? Every single disc in my bag is a backhand disc and a sidearm disc. I don't have a favorite disc. There is no such thing as a sidearm disc. All you're doing when you throw sidearm is reversing the spin of the disc. And when you reverse the spin of the disc, you create a mirror image flight, all things being equal, to a backhand. So if you step up to a hole and your destroyer's the perfect disc for that hole, backhand, on the next hole, if you have a mirror image of that hole, the exact opposite mirror image of that hole you just threw a destroyer on, then you should throw a destroyer sidearm, because the flight of the disc is a mirror image flight of the backhand. Now, because of different grips, it might not be the same. So, for instance, I throw a force for the exact same shots that I throw a Halo destroyer on. I'll throw the Halo destroyer backhand, the force sidearm. They fly identical. I can't tell the difference between those two discs and how they fly. But I grip one better sidearm, grip one better backhand. But it's not that I'm throwing two different discs in theory. It's just two different discs in practice because they grip differently.
Okay, we got a question on your messenger.
I got a question on Messenger someone sent me.
Yeah. So if Aaron Gossage wins the world championships, where does his mustache stack up against all the former world champs? There has to be at least one good one from back in the 80s, right?
Oh, back in the 80s? Oh, God.
Who has the best championship stash?
Who has the best championship mustache? Are we just talking NPO?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, you can do
best championship
Masters
mustache. I think Steve Weiskopf had a good one, I believe. I'm trying to think back. It's been a long time. I'm pretty old. I'm pretty elderly.
There's got to be some good old founders.
Hosfeld. I just heard someone say Hosfeld. Yeah, Hosfeld. I might have to go with Greg Hosfeld. He had a bushy stash. I think back then.
Did Sisson ever win? Because he had.
No, Bruce Sisson had the best mustache in the world. Gigantic, bushy red mustache. He won the Masters Cup in MP40. I remember that. But I don't think he never won Worlds.
Okay.
So I would have to go with Greg Hosfeld. Think about it. A Stokely stamped Lutz is a dang cool disc. In Swedish, Lutz is the word for a maritime pilot. You are very much the pilot of disc golf when you're teaching, steering people the right way. I appreciate that.
That was like so profound.
That is. So you're now number 3 on my marketing team, right below Amy, who's right below Adriana, who's below me. I'm curious to what music I like. Not sure why, but I'm surprised to hear you like Bill Burr and Daniel Tosh. Do you two have similar tastes? I love Bill Burr and Daniel Tosh. I like Bill Burr and Doug Stanhope and Joe Rogan and Louis C.K. and Dave Chappelle, Anthony Jeselnik. I'm pretty picky about my comedy, though. I find Dimitri Martin. I think Bo Burnham's also sharp. I find most comedy pretty lacking and pretty weak. I'm a snob when it comes to comedy. Like, I'm not impressed with most comedians. Daniel Tosh is great, though. Do we have similar tastes? I think we have pretty similar tastes. Oh, do we have similar tastes? I'm sorry. What do you like? Music. Okay, so here's the deal. I like hardcore punk, old school punk rock. I even like some of the 90s skate punk and stuff like that too, but a lot of older stuff. And I also like Broadway musicals. I love show tunes. And that wasn't on purpose. I had zero intention whatsoever of being into musicals. In fact, I fought kicking and screaming. I was never going to see a musical. It just seemed like the dumbest thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. I just couldn't stand it. And I got dragged kicking and screaming. Like I did it as like, I don't know, I was trying to be a good boyfriend or something like that. I went to go see Hairspray in the theater. Like this is a movie musical based on a Broadway musical based on a movie. Love the original movie. I'm a huge John Waters fan. Love John Waters. But I got dragged to go see Hairspray, the musical in the theater. And I swear to God, I sat there the whole time, like just mesmerized, like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I can't believe this is so amazing. Like, I was like blown away by how great it was. And then someone told me that, well, you liked South Park, the movie, right? I'm like, yeah. They're like, that was a musical. I'm like, no, it wasn't. They're like, yes, it was. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. And they explained how all the songs they're set up to drive the story forward, and they're like in every sense it's a musical. And I went, no, it's not. Really? Then I realized that I liked South Park the music, And anyways, I've become like, I mean,
You've embraced it.
I've embraced it. I've owned it. I watch old Tony's award shows to watch Neil Patrick Harris crush it. So anyways, I'm now a total nerd for Broadway musicals. So it's not on purpose. But here's the thing. Musicals are why I wrote this book. All right, ready for this? So, my life's goal in disc golf, if I have one goal in disc golf, is I want a Broadway musical made about my life. It's going to be called Stokely the Musical. Just like Hamilton, except way more important than the American Revolution, obviously. Like, we're talking about my life. And I want to make a music. I want there to be Stokely the Musical. And it's like, well, what is the best way I could possibly get a musical made about my life? Well, in my opinion, it was to make a movie, have a movie made about my life. If there's a movie made about my life, it can be adapted into a musical if the movie's successful, right? Cool. Well, I just need a movie made about my life. Well, what's the best way to get a movie made about my life? It's to write a book, have a successful book, write a successful autobiography. So I wrote this with the explicit goal of having this turned into a movie, turned into a Broadway musical. That's a true story. I always say that's a true story. I don't know why. I don't lie about anything, but I want a musical about my life called Stokely the Musical. It's all going to be about disc golf. And by the way, it's going to be as over the top as it can possibly be. This is none of this modern, like hip Hamilton stuff. I want to go old school Hello Dolly musical. Oklahoma, Les Mis. Like, I don't know. I want to go old school with it. Anyways. Have I ever felt left out of around between the age gap between my card mates? Never. Dude, I cannot tell you how kind and nice and respectful everybody has been to me this year. I mentioned this earlier if you weren't there for this. They've been too nice to me. No one's given me a grief about being old. I don't understand that. I'm old and I'm finishing in the top third most tournaments. I'm beating most of y'all. You should be very resentful over this because the old guy's still beating you sometimes. And so, people should be making fun of me for being old and they're not. And I'm kind of like a little bit offended by that. I know in the modern world, you're not supposed to make fun of race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, age. There's like these protected groups. I'm not going to discuss that. This is not a political thing, but for crying out loud, like, you can make fun of me for being old. Like, that's nothing. I'm not ashamed of being old. You're not punching down on me because I'm old, because I don't feel less than because I'm old. And so the fact that they've been so respectful to me
is offensive.
It's offensive
so
to me.
You would get what you want anyway.
What?
You want them to offend you, and they're not offending you.
They're not offending me, and that's offending me.
Yeah. So
because I am one of them. I'm one of the guys. So this is what us guys do. We rip on each other, and especially, don't get me wrong, there's people out there that'll give it to me. Jeremy Coley will give it to me. Bradley Williams will give it to me, and they're some of my favorite people because of it. But I've never been excluded. No one's ever made me feel not a part of this thing. I'll tell you one thing too. Let me just add to this. Is that I think a big reason that I'm viewed as a part of this thing isn't just because I used to be good back when, or because I wrote a book, or because I had world records and stuff like this. I'm out there cashing every weekend, or like I've cashed 4 of my last 5 tournaments. So independent of anything I've ever done in my life, if I'm out there going to DGP tournaments and cashing, of course I belong. I'm like finishing in the money. So I'm basically just being treated like another competitor, except there's this one extra level of respect people have been showing me that's just, don't get me wrong, I appreciate it. And I don't want that to change. I love it. But they could also make fun of me for being old too, and I'm okay with that. I make fun of me for being old more than they do, which is
Yeah, you do.
Can I speak that a little bit about that course in northern Idaho that I heard you mention before? What made it special? So first off, it's not northern Idaho, it's North Idaho. They will correct you. It's not northern Montana, it's North Montana. I don't know why they'll correct you, but I got corrected when I said this. It's called Caliber. And Caliber is a private disc golf course on top of a mountain. It's just north of Sandpoint. It's a few throws away from Canada. Not really. It's probably 20 miles from Canada, but it's at the north tip of Idaho. This is a person who bought this piece of land, and he spent about $400,000, I think, so far, building the course from scratch out of the side of a mountain. He took out 3,000 trees to build the fairways. And effectively, what he's been able to do, because he basically started with this really dense forest and removed the trees, he did the exact same thing you would do if you had an empty mountain and could plant trees everywhere you want to. There were enough trees where he could basically build the course based on the exactly how he wanted. I want the fairway to be this wide at this point, and but he did it from scratch. And what's special about it is that he wasn't trying to make the greatest disc golf course ever. He wanted a place for him and his friends to play. And it's a true labor of love. He wasn't trying to monetize it. I mean, I think at some point he may turn it into some like a resort thing, and maybe he could have cabins there, and maybe he could actually start to make some money off it. But he didn't build it as it wasn't a financial decision. He built it out of love of disc golf. One nice thing about this particular forest where he built it, and you have to actually see this to like you might not notice this at times, but there are forests that only have one type of tree in them. A lot of forests are like that. They just have one type of tree. And on a disc golf course, it's not that it gets monotonous, but if there's a variety of trees, it's the opposite of monotonous, because you don't just have a bunch of trees that have, no branches for the first 20 feet. So down below, you have a bunch of trees, but no branches. You actually have a variety of trees that are lush, and they have a foliage that covers the certain fairway over here, but other trees over here, the branches don't start till higher. So there's gaps in the trees, but that variety of trees and color adds variety to the course. And he has made sure that every tee pad is perfect. Every tee sign is so to scale that if you've never played the course, it's the first course I've ever seen where you could actually play the course blind, stand on the tee pad, look at the tee sign, look down the fairway, and play the blind par 4 and know what kind of shot to throw, because all the trees on the tee sign are to scale. The tee signs look very simple, but they're very accurately measured out. When you go down the fairway, there are markers on the trees, 100 feet, 150, 200, 250 feet, telling you how far away the target is, how far away the basket is from where you're standing. Again, the tee signs are just immaculate, perfect, large. It's just all the little things. But the biggest thing is this is just a guy who just, this is his passion, and he's done it all. I'm sure he's had help with friends and other people, but it's a passion of one man who wanted something special and built it. And by the way, if the course wasn't an awesome course, it would still be an awesome thing. But the fact that the course is so amazing is also spectacular. I think it's my third favorite course in the world. I mean, right now on my list, it's number 3. It's right up there with, I might give it a tie. I love toboggan, and I don't know why it's close, but it's probably 3. Fairly new to the sport. Been trying to find a putter similar to the Reef. I really like it, but go figure, it's discontinued. Do you have a recommendation? I don't know what a Reef is. So I would say whoever makes the Reef, post to that fan group. Like if you, if it was made by Dynamic, go to a Dynamic fan page and post about that. But I don't know what the Reef is. I'm not even familiar with it. Two-minute elevator pitch. The Scott Stokely disc golf philosophy. 2 minutes, huh? But I've never gone on a 2-minute rant in my life. How do I keep it to 2 minutes? All right, ready? The clock starts now. Mechanics are everything. Proper mechanics will trump anxiety. It'll trump bad decisions. It'll trump, there's a lot of things that go into a good round of golf. But the single most important thing, hands down, are proper mechanics. When you have proper mechanics, the disc flies far. It flies the line you're aiming. It comes out the angle you want. The disc basically goes where you want. You have control, or some semblance of control. Technically, you don't control the outcome of a shot, but it's as close as you get to having control over what the disc does. Improper mechanics, you're just guessing. You're creating a larger variance. The idea is with proper mechanics, you can miss by 3 degrees right or 3 degrees left, but that's the variance you can miss by. Improper mechanics, you can miss by 5 degrees left or 5 degrees right. Doesn't seem like a big difference, but the difference is one of them hits the gap 60% more often than the other form. Just because of your form and the wider range of where you could possibly miss means you're going to hit your gaps more frequently with proper mechanics. If you have proper mechanics when you putt, you cannot be a bad putter. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to be a great putter just because your mechanics are good. You still got to go out and put the time in. You got to practice. You got to put years to become a great putter. But you cannot be a bad putter if your mechanics are good. So my philosophy is the number one thing that trumps everything else is proper throwing form. If you throw correctly, there's no one out there with really, really good form, really great disc golf form that's also 870 rated. There's not. The correlation is just, it's 1-to-1. Good form, good at disc golf. Can't wait to see me in Pittsburgh. By the way, I need to step out in just a couple minutes because I am meeting Albert Tam. He just texted me. Can't wait to see me in Pittsburgh. How do I plan to play all the elevated changes in North Boundary? In particular, how do you throw straight up hills on 3 and 7? I have never played the course, so I don't know. But I can tell you the way you throw up hills. Wrist to elbow. That's the height you want to throw. This is how you throw up a hill. This is how you throw down a hill. But this right here is the number one thing that determines the height of the shot. So if it's up here, you go down, you pull it up. That's how you will throw up a hill. Am I going to play another super long disc golf hole? Well, I did not put a video up yet, but I'm going to be putting it up soon. I did play a 15 mile?
No, it's 10.8.
A 10.8 mile long hole across Death Valley. I got all the video, but I haven't put it up yet. So I did play a 56,000 foot hole across Death Valley. And yes, I absolutely positively want to play a longer hole. I have not figured out where, but I will do it somewhere.
The Australian outback.
It might be in Australia. And oh, across the outback.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to go play a 11-mile hole across Australia. Dude, everything in Australia can kill you.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, there are so many things in the outback that can kill. When will I be starting my new online class? Okay, so if you're interested in my online class, go to scottstokely.net, get on my mailing list. I'm going to be announcing it soon. And when I announce it, it'll be launching just in a couple months, but I'll be opening it up and it will fill. So go to scottstokely.net, get on the mailing list, and be the first to notified. What do I do for fun that isn't disc golf related? Everything we do is an adventure. I love my number one favorite thing. I mean, I love scuba diving. It's like the actual activity, but my number one favorite thing is going off grid. I like being in the backcountry. I like putting on a backpack and disappearing into the mountains. I don't like camping in campgrounds. I never camp in campgrounds if I can help it, which is, I can always help it. So I never camp in campgrounds. I like to disappear, hike someplace, find a flat piece of ground where there's no people, you're not going to see any people, and put up a tent. That's my happy place. That is the place where I like to be the most with my partner, with Adriana. I like being on the Green River in Utah, which is basically you can go days without seeing another human being, but you can only get to these places by canoe out on this river in Canyonlands National Park. I mean, you're literally gone from civilization. Our plan originally, which we won't do this year, but we'll do next year, is to go spend a month or two in Patagonia. I want to disappear into the mountains of Patagonia because it's basically like Alaska, but there's no bears eating you. So I'm kind of afraid of bears a little bit. So I love the backcountry, and I like adventures. I like doing things I love doing things that are really hard to do. Do I make more of my book I've bought from the website than if I bought from Amazon? I believe so, right? A nominal amount.
It's basically the same.
Yeah.
Because by the time we have to ship it twice, because we order
Yeah.
the book.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar, but I think if you go off the website, it's still best.
It is probably slightly better from your website if you're getting paper.
Yeah.
The best one is the Audible, I think.
Yeah, Audibles. But you do all that through my website, though. Let's see.
All right, last question.
Last question. If Paul Macbeth wins this year's Worlds with his calf injury, will it be his best Worlds win ever so far? I think everyone's first World Championships is their best Worlds win. Like, after that, it's gravy. You know, I got second place at Pro Worlds twice. I really wanted that one so badly. But I think the first one's the biggest one. I wasn't even worried he had a calf injury. Yeah, I mean, nothing Paul does surprises me. He's Paul. I mean, he's Paul Macbeth. If he's never going to win a tournament where I'm like, no way. Did you hear what happened? Can you believe it? I mean, it's Paul.
All right, let's wrap it up.
All right, so I'll wrap it up. I see one more question from JT Peebles. I said I'm so fit and healthy. I'm about to announce within a week or less. I'm going to be announcing an online fitness and health class, with disc golf being at the center of it. More information coming. This is not specific training for disc golf. Disc Golf Strong owns that. There's no way I would do a better job than Disc Golf Strong does at specific fitness and training for disc golf. The same way nobody does a better job than me as far as teaching how to play disc golf. This is going to be about diet and health and fitness and lifestyle, without being all those things that are terrible when people try to be healthy, and it's just awful. Or, like it's either unsustainable or like, what do you mean you got to give up every single thing you like and to be healthy? That's stupid. So anyways, but I'll be announcing that in a week. All right. Thanks, everyone. I love all of you. I really, truly do. Let me tell you one last thing before I go. Every single one of you that sends a message or comments on Facebook that you're rooting me on, or that I've inspired you, or that you wish me luck, or that you try to console me when I play bad. Like, the reason why I click like on all those on every social media platform is because I need you all to know that I read all of them and they matter to me. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It sounds cliche, but it drives me. It truly does. So thank you, everybody. And we'll talk to y'all
See you
soon.
next Friday.
We'll see you next Friday.